Once upon a time, in a quiet little village surrounded by green fields and tall trees, there lived an old lady. Her hair was silver like moonlight, and her face was lined with gentle wrinkles that told stories of many years. But her eyes were bright, full of kindness and peace. Everyone in the village loved her. No matter how hard life got, she was always smiling. She lived alone in a small house beside a big banyan tree. Her husband had passed away long ago, and she had no children. Yet, she never complained. Every morning, she would sit under that tree, talk to anyone who passed by, and share her warm, gentle smile. Life in the village wasn't easy. People worked hard, some were farmers, some carpenters, some sold things in the small market. Sometimes the rains didn't come, and the crops dried up. Sometimes people fell sick and couldn't work. Many villagers often worried about how they would survive another day. One afternoon, a young woman named Radha came to the old lady, her face wet with tears. "Mother," she said, "I don't know what to do. My husband went to the city to find work, but he hasn't sent any money. My children are hungry. I am so scared." The old lady looked at her kindly and said, "Sit down, my child. Tell me, what do you think will happen?" Radha wiped her tears. "I don't know. I feel like bad things will happen. What if my husband doesn't find a job? What if he forgets about us?" The old lady shook her head gently and smiled. "Radha, when we think bad thoughts, our hearts grow heavy. But when we think good thoughts, we feel lighter, and sometimes, good things begin to happen." Radha frowned softly. "But how can I think good thoughts when everything feels so bad?" The old lady smiled again and said, "Let me tell you a story." Radha leaned closer. "Once," the old lady began, "there was a poor man who had nothing. No food, no money, no family. He sat by the river, crying. An old woman walked by and asked, 'Why are you crying, my son?' The man said, 'I have nothing. How can I be happy?' The woman smiled and said, 'You have the river, you have the trees, you have the sun. Look around you. There is beauty and life everywhere. If you only think about what you don't have, you will always be sad. But if you think about what you do have, your heart will find peace." The man listened. Slowly, he stopped crying. He began to notice the sound of the water, the rustling of the leaves, the warmth of the sun. And from that day, his life began to change. Not because magic happened, but because his thinking changed. The old lady looked at Radha and said softly, "You see, my dear, when we change our thoughts, we change our world. Positive thinking doesn't erase our problems, but it gives us the strength to face them." Radha thought for a moment. "Do you really think my thoughts can change my life?" The old lady nodded. "Yes, my child. If you wake up every morning and tell yourself, 'Today will be a good day,' you'll find strength to work, to care for your children, to wait with hope. But if you only think of what might go wrong, you'll feel too weak to move." Radha took a deep breath and smiled faintly. "I understand. I will try." "That's the first step," the old lady said warmly. From that day on, Radha decided to change her thinking. Every morning she woke up, looked at the sky, and said, "Today will be a good day." She worked hard, took care of her children, and waited for her husband with hope in her heart. Weeks passed. Then one day, Radha received a letter. Her husband had found a job in the city, and he was sending money home. Tears of joy filled her eyes. She ran straight to the old lady's house and said, "Mother, he found work. He's sending money." The old lady smiled and nodded slowly. "You see, my dear, when we think good thoughts, we invite good things into our lives. Problems will always come, but a hopeful heart can overcome them." Word spread through the village. One by one, people began visiting the old lady, the farmer whose crops had failed, the carpenter with no customers, the mother who had lost hope. And to all of them, she gave the same advice. Think good thoughts, and good will come. Soon, the village began to change. People smiled more. They helped one another. They faced each day with courage and faith. The old lady never asked for anything in return. She just kept smiling under her banyan tree, her eyes full of love and light. She had given the village a gift, not of gold or food, but something far more powerful, the gift of positive thinking. Because happiness, she had taught them, doesn't come from what we have. It comes from how we think. If these words stirred something inside you, follow this path, subscribe so you don't miss the next step.